Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 2020 ReelAbilities Film Festival, Los Angeles. First, I just want to take an opportunity to thank our community partners and our industry sponsors, without whom none of this would have been possible. And I will never tire of saying this, with the voices that you hear, but the faces you do not see, of the DOD, the Department on Disability for the City of Los Angeles, and their tireless work to make this ship sail as smoothly as possible. So they deserve all the credit.
Yes.
Valerie?
Yes. Hi.
Oh, hi.
Hello.
Well, you swung in at the last minute. How you doing?
Very well. Very well. Thank you so much for screening our movie. It's big time for movie theaters right now.
Uh-huh. Okay, well, this changed the dynamic. I was just about to have a discussion just with the group because we weren't sure who was going to come. But thank you for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Well, in the interest of full disclosure to you and to everybody, as I said, I'm Michael Dougherty, and I'm the director of the ReelAbilities Film Festival. That's my job, and I'm doing all these interviews. I am beholden to say that movie theaters are a sacred space to me, and so what you were doing in the movie is my kind of humanitarianism. So I have to say that up front. And the other thing is, as the moderator, the expectation is that I remain as impartial as possible and just guide the conversation to where we can pull out interesting themes and such. However, this movie made me so angry, and I wasn't angry at you, wasn't angry at anybody in it, was not angry at the filmmaking. I was angry at the country that we are currently living in. And so while I'm going to explore this, if I start to get emotional, you'll understand why. So I just needed to put that out there just so that we can continue in a professional way. So how did this first come to you?
So as you saw in the movie, I grew up with people with disabilities in my whole life. And then I just really, after working with an arts organization with adults with disabilities, it wasn't enough for me. I really wanted to make the jobs. So you saw me through the whole movie wanting to make the jobs. And then it was almost like magic, where I was able to pair together the magic of movie going and that kind of golden era of cinema type feel, along with, employing adults with disabilities in that integrated competitive environment at the same time. So it was just like a perfect fit. And it was going so well, and then, the future uncertain. But one thing that we do believe is that there will always be a place for movie going. And so as long as there is still a place for movie going, we will be there to welcome our audiences, and we will go on with the show.
And you brought up The Wizard of Oz a number of times, and I'm a movie buff and historian of sorts, and I know that part of the reason that movie was so popular at the time it was is because we were in the middle of a horrific war. Does that resonate with you?
It does, and also the movie theaters really flourished in times of depression, times of war, and people really needed the shared communal experience of being together, and for all of the social and educational and emotional benefits of going to the movies together. And so for forever there's been escapism, and I believe that once lockdowns lift and people feel more comfortable going back into the movie theater, people will come back out. They will have a sense of nostalgia, and they will want to get together. And it's always, when you come to the Prospector Theater especially, you're going for a greater good than just seeing the movie. So it's like a double win right there.
And what were a number of the challenges that you had when you first started out, other than what we see in the movie? Was there anything that wasn't included?
Well, there was so much red tape and so much, it was like the town just kept putting more and more barriers in my way. And to the point where I actually had to turn to the town councilman and say, do you even want a place in town to hire adults with disabilities? Because I had to start questioning it, because that's how hard it felt like they were working against us. And it was almost a miracle that place ever even, got open. And even when I see the movie, after having been in it myself, sometimes I'm not sure whether we're going to make it or not. And we obviously do. But, there were some really terrifying times. And I think that the only thing that the good part of all those challenges that we had along the way of like really not knowing what we were doing, getting educated along the way, making our whole operating procedures and whatnot, it's prepared us for this moment. And what we do right here and now is so important for, as a beacon of hope, not only to people who want jobs, but to other independent theater owners and lovers of the cinema and movie theaters, like watching their local movie theaters just go down one after another. And it's absolutely devastating. And we need to do something about it now and show people how clean it can be, how safe it could be, and remind people of the good reasons they were going to the movies in the first place.
And so do you have a practical plan beyond the philosophical one?
Yes. So I figure, we need to paddle with the current. And so I won't be able to fight against streaming. It's not like I can say to Disney, hey, Disney, how about we work on the movie theaters instead of going straight to streaming? I can't fight it. Streaming is too big. So the Prospector's in the process of making the Prospector at-home experience, which will be kind of subscription-based with gourmet popcorn and movie recommendations made by our prospects sent out to people's houses. And we believe that is a really, with so many people being homebound now and so many people wanting to share in some sort of a way, we think this is a way that we can still bring some sparkle, bring some of the shared and love of movie going all together without having to travel.
And when will do you think you're going to get that off the ground?
We're going to launch that before the end of the new year. And also I guess the movie doesn't pick up there, but we are in the process of building our second location. So we, I think, are the only movie theater who's currently in construction right now. And we've adapted those plans a little bit because of the movie landscape that we see in front of us. But, we signed a lease in January, and as you all know, shutdown happened in March. So this was the worst possible time that we could have moved in on another location. But you know what? We have such faith in the product of what we are doing and how we are doing it that we feel comfortable moving ahead where a lot of other people wouldn't have done it. So we're also working on scaling our gourmet popcorn business because it's very difficult to recommend to somebody, and people from all over the world have called us, how do I open a movie theater? My movie theater's going out of business. I want to take it over. It's such an extreme capital expenditure that it's not practical for an operator just to come in and do movie theaters. We think some of our spin-off businesses, like the gourmet popcorn business, really could be scalable and replicable, and we need to make big impact. COVID made almost 85% unemployment now, so we're at even a grimmer point in time than we were in 2014 when we were beginning that adventure. So what we have now is even more in demand and necessary.
And because I honestly don't, I mean, I spent my life in movie theaters, but I wouldn't know how to run one. So what are the differences, other than obviously be corporation versus independent, but what are the differences and challenges for running something that's independent and cool and unique as opposed to, AMC?
Well, unfortunately, because we're independent, we don't have the luxury of AMC struck a deal with Universal. So AMC shortened the release windows, and AMC was going to show things, and then it was going to be streaming on Universal in 2 weeks. So and Disney also gave some of their content to big theater chains. And so the little guy has been having trouble for a very long time. Independent theaters have been on the decline because of the studio. The contractual obligations that studios give to the theater owners is really not that favorable toward the independent theater owner. And you really make all your money, as any theater operator can tell you, in the concessions. And so that's where the business, the whole, heart of the business was. But in order for us to be more than a movie theater and to employ 10 times the amount of people who would work at a traditional 4-screen movie theater, we've always had to do the engagement guides and rolling out that pink carpet and having the dance parties or the silent discos or making different kinds of balloon structures and whatnot so that we would have the audience interaction with our prospects. And so a lot of movie theaters are trying to pivot right now and are trying to capture some of that, and that's what we've been doing all along. If we don't get new studio content, we'll just have to pivot and adapt. Our throwbacks are really, really fun. So, and because we're in Connecticut, we've been open since June 17th. The audience, it's been very light, but we say that just limits our exposure. But, we're very much looking forward to a vaccine coming and for people coming back out and returning to the movies.
And you said you're doing throwbacks, meaning that you're doing older movies.
Yeah. Yes. And we've got Tenet right now, and but I got my Wonder Woman on because we're looking for Wonder Woman to save the day and to come out on Christmas Day. And if you think about that, like the little girl inside of me is like, Wonder Woman, I've been waiting for you. You got to really this time. You got to come to the rescue. So,
but believe me, the little girl inside me feels the same way.
Good.
So here's where I want to get to a little bit of the deeper water. In terms of the employees and their relationship to their benefits and having to lose them if they make too much money, and your relationship to that and how you feel about it.
It's super tragic, and what you see what happens in the movie is just, absolutely, it's horrible what happened in New York State, that they were, it turned out that they were sending blanket letters of rejection of benefits to almost like everybody who had disabilities. And New York State was just waiting to see like who was going to lawyer up and come and fight for their benefits. And so my sister Hope had the benefit of her twin sister is our attorney. And so, they papered the court with like documents like this deep, like really proving that Hope with Down syndrome has a disability. And my heart absolutely breaks. That there's got to be major reform, because for the people who don't have a lawyer who's their twin sister, who can't come in with a stack of documents like that, like those are the people who are really in trouble. And the system should not work like that. There needs to be, we talk about systemic change that is like necessary, like in a lot of different industries, or a lot of different points of government. Like really we need, with the ADA and whatnot, we need big change in that in order to make any dent in what's going to happen.
So do you think it's directly into the ADA, or does it need to be done on a case-by-case basis? What's going to work?
I think it's got to be the ADA. And just coming from the employer, now I've got the benefit of coming from the employer standpoint, whereas before I was really just coming from education and nonprofit standpoint. And it's very difficult when you're the employer and you can't look at somebody and say, okay, like I'm not legally allowed to say, do you have a disability? How can I help you? What kind of modifications can I make for you? What kind of accommodations would you like? Like I can't have that kind of honest and frank dialogue with an employee without them initiating it and them be like, I can't ask the questions. And it makes it very difficult for an employer, even like employers with excellent intentions, when they might not understand somebody's disability and just really want to learn more. It's very difficult in that process. So that's a challenge that really needs to be addressed if we want more widespread comfort for employers to open their doors to the very talented workforce that's sitting in front of them.
And so what sort of practical steps do you think that we can take to sort of advocate for this change?
I'm glad that you asked that. So what the Prospector Theater recommends to people is that they should that if they're comfortable with it, they might want to consider voluntary disclosure and speaking to their employers up front about what their personal challenges are and what accommodations could help them. And sometimes just a very inexpensive device, like even like an Apple Box step for somebody who works behind the box office, like makes the difference between like somebody being able to work and somebody not being able to work. Or, and so often it's just very, very little things. So we help to open a dialogue, and we've helped to make a lot of people who have historically been like uncomfortable around people with disabilities because they'd never had them in their classes or didn't know anybody. We're increasing that level of comfort with everybody, all the audience members who come in and interact with our prospects, and that's been a real positive.
So it's almost like a kind of coming out of let's talk about the problem and get it out in the open, and maybe that's the way that we can hopefully solve this.
Yes, I mean, I think that educational component on it is incredibly important, and because some employers even think that somebody with a disability is going to come in and like play the disability card or use it as an excuse or something, and that's something that I go around telling employers, like, are you kidding me? Like our workers love to be there, love to work, and then since we've got people with and without disabilities all working together, it's just beautiful from the way that we take turns between teacher and student and whatnot. And so we actually we don't even we don't ever like say somebody's got disability or not. We really only it's only that voluntary self-disclosure, but it really goes a long way, and we help people to get the confidence and tools that they need to have that conversation. We try.
That's amazing.
Michael, we have a question from Stephen. Stephen, you want to go ahead and unmute your mic?
Hi, good evening, Valerie. Thank you for the work you do. I'm a local government guy and a disability advocate, so all this conversation about how we make change in the community is dear to my heart. That said, I want to circle back into the movie making piece of this. And what was it like to tell this story as a piece of advocacy and have your personal life and family be, a key element in it?
Oh, it's so hard. It's so raw, and you see the real emotion, like between myself and my sister and the challenge in that relationship and whatnot. And it's really, I'm pretty much a private person. And so it was difficult for me to see that and for people to see the struggles that we were going through. But I felt it was such an important message to people, almost as a cautionary tale as to why not to open up a movie theater. But I thought it was such an important message that that I did decide to send it out. And independent filmmakers made it, and I certainly, if I was producing it myself, I certainly would not have had the courage to go as deep as the filmmakers had gone.
Does anybody else have any questions? We only have a few minutes left.
Sorry, me again.
Sure. Hi again.
I think my partner and I were having this discussion watching the film early on when I know you said there was a lot of red tape and it was difficult and there was literally written words on the screen that essentially explained that. Still, it seemed you went from this brilliant idea to they're completely rebuilding this building. It's a massive remodel, and the capital, raising capital for that must have been extraordinary. So I'm curious what happened in that short time period, or how did you manage to actually get that off the ground?
Right, great question. So we had, since I had worked with the nonprofit before and had, had a track record and had a large following when I started the Prospector, we were able to raise all the funds totally independently. We didn't take, before we got the PPP grant this past year, we hadn't taken any state or federal funding whatsoever. That was totally the whole entire building with no, all paid off, was a gift from just very, very generous donors. And sometimes people, they look at me and they're like, she's got pink hair, she built that building, I could build that building too. And I'm saying, like, it's a little bit more complicated than that. There's more going on like behind the scenes that, and some, very significant donations from some, very, very generous people in private philanthropy that all made that happen. But that's also why we believe that we need to kind of pivot and move into one of the other areas of our business, and particularly we think the gourmet popcorn will work if we make a big push and kind of sell the Prospector experience out online, and then hopefully we could open up more of these little popcorn shops across the country, and it's just more achievable than doing the whole movie theater. Because you're right, the capital is just, the capital expenditure in there is disabling.
And what do you think about the exorbitant prices of movie tickets these days?
Well, we like to say that it's very affordable, considering if you're going to go to Broadway or if you're going to go to a Major League sports game or professional sports, it's still an affordable day out. I don't know if people, if the average moviegoer is aware that some of the movies take up to 70% of the ticket price from the theater. So it's like I said, you know, a $10 ticket, you're getting $3. You know, you get to keep $3 of that, and that's why the concessions goes. So we really try to make movie going as affordable and accessible as possible. Our throwbacks are only $5. And really, we have to charge something for people to come in, so people don't kind of drop in and drop out. But you know, we like to consider it a very affordable out-of-home entertainment experience.
Well, we only have about 3 minutes left, and then we have one more movie, which is Code of the Freaks, which is about movies. So if you want to come, please, everybody come to it. But the last thing I want to say is that my parents live in Westbrook, Connecticut.
Oh my gosh, I've got family out there too. It's so funny.
So when I get back there, whenever I can leave the state, I'm going to come around and say hi to you guys.
Please do. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And you can always visit us virtually. We're always putting out new videos and new rap videos, and we got a COVID rap, and we got, you know, all sorts of stuff for our upcoming promotions, because, you know, the show must go on. So even when we've got 3 people coming into the movies that day, we still have 25 people working, and so we're doing all sorts of magical stuff over there.
Well, thank you for continuing the magic, and thank you for Mike was supposed to be here, and it was you. So thank you for doing this last minute. It's really a pleasure. Thank you.
Very welcome. Thank you.
All right. We'll see you.
Bye-bye.